Hello and welcome to The Big Picture. The JNU Students' Union President Kanhaiya Kumar, who was arrested on charges of sedition, has been granted interim bail and released from the Tihar jail today after being in custody for nearly 20 days. The bail granted by bench of the Delhi High Court Justice Pratibha Rani has laid down certain conditions which many feel are quite extraordinary. The 13-page order, which starts with a patriotic song from a 1960s Hindi film Upkar, also talks about the soldiers in Siachen and Run of Kutch and how because of them the students raising slogans in JNU are enjoying their freedom of speech. It also talks of infections and gangrene and how in that case amputation is the only recourse, though the judge while granting bail says that she is right now resorting to conservative method of treatment. We will discuss this bail order and its implications for not just Kanhaiya Kumar but also the faculty of the university and the larger jurisprudence also. To discuss this, I have with me Soli Sorabjee, former Attorney General of India, Justice B.A.Khan, retired Chief Justice of Jammu and Kashmir High Court, Prof.Apoorvanand of the Delhi University, Rakesh Batabyal, historian and associate professor at the JNU, and Satya Prakash, legal editor, Hindustan Times. Welcome to all of you. Sir, Mr. Sorabjee, when you read this judgment, what was your first impression of this? Is Kanhaiya, the first thing I want to get a clarification is why is it being called an interim bail?
In our criminal jurisprudence, bail is the rule, jail is the exception. A person must be granted bail unless there are reasons which indicate he might tamper with the investigation, he is likely to go out of the country and things like that. But in the present case, the charge of sedition, if persons know what sedition means as interpreted by the Supreme Court, was to my mind a completely ill-founded charge, both on facts and law. Now I think the grant of the bail is thoroughly justified. Of course, the judge went a bit abroad by quotation from various other places and other things, but it's all right. In effect, in substance, the order granting bail, to my mind, is completely justified.
No, the order granting bail is justified, fine. But, the kind of conditions which have been put is quite, some people feel that it is quite extraordinary. And, as far as this case, normally in sedition cases, it is not so easy to get bail. But the fact that, the bail has been granted in such a short time, some people say it's such a short time. Justice Khan, how do you look at this?
No, how do I look at this bail?
How do you look at this? The fact that
bail order.
The fact that bail has been granted in what was considered to be a very serious sedition case. What does it mean?
No. You see, there are no hard and fast rules. You see, bail granting and refusal of a bail is a discretionary matter, and there are certain rules of the game. So there are certain criteria laid down on the basis of which a bail is granted or refused, and there are so many judgments on this, and it's elementary for any judicial magistrate to know all those. So it is not that the bail was granted so immediately, even though a case of sedition is registered. See, you can register for the sake of it any case, sedition or murder or whatever, but that doesn't mean that that is an offense committed. For that offense committed, you have to have some material. And if that material is available, there may be a prolonging of the grant of bail. And if prima facie it is shown that there is no such material, as Mr. Sorabjee was saying, this is not a case of sedition, prima facie, so granting of bail becomes a right. But that's not the issue right now as far as this bail order is concerned. I have gone through this bail order just now, and it appears to be lacking in judicial approach wholly. This bail order exposes the subjectivity. In this, the judge first tries to establish her own credentials of being a nationalist by singing a song in the first instance.
All of us used to get very worked up hearing those songs.
And proceeds on considerations which are wholly relevant to the grant and refusal of a bail. Sometimes resorting to analogy of a doctor making a diagnosis. Sometimes saying, oh, that thought is an infection, and that infection can assume a proportion of an epidemic. and then epidemic can lead to gangrene, and then there can be an amputation. Amputation of what? Whose amputation? Amputation of a thought? Now, what I am saying is, see, there are certain parameters on the basis of which a magistrate grants a bail. And this judgment, this bail order, should have considered those requirements. For example, was there any chance of impacting any investigation by this man, this boy?
That is not discussed.
Was there any chance of interfering with any investigation or impacting any witness or interfering in any such thing? What was the gravity of the offense on the material based on record? This judicial order on its own says that I have not seen any slogan being raised by this man in a video.
Yes.
And
She says that, you know, the attorney general, not the attorney general, the solicitor who was representing the state, says that there were eyewitnesses saying that, you know, who heard this kind of slogans being raised.
And there are some perverse findings.
And those who are those witnesses are not named.
Now, what is this saying that I am resorting to a conservative treatment of this patient? What is this?
Well, let me get Mr. Sorabjee. Mr. Sorabjee, you know, what Justice Khan says, that some of the words used, not just words used, the thoughts behind it, and the kind of the conditions which has been laid. How do you look at this? You know, some of the things which Justice Khan was talking about.
No, the judge has used our flowery language and has really gone a little overboard there. But the main thing is the conclusion of our grant of bail, to my mind, cannot be faulted. Because after all, there's no charge of sedition made out, as the section of sedition has been interpreted by the Supreme Court. And I don't see how the man could have been kept behind bars on this. Where is the evidence he's going to run away from the country? Or is going to interfere with the investigation or tamper with witnesses? And these conditions are the normal conditions. Yes, maybe, as I said, the language in the order is not the one which expects in the judicial order, but ultimately, in substance, the conclusion to my mind was correct. The man deserved bail, and he has been granted bail.
Okay.
No, but the man didn't deserve interim bail. This is a novel concept.
Exact. What is this concept of interim bail?
Interim bail.
It's for 6 months. What does it mean?
Mr. Sorabjee seems to be under the impression that we are opposing the grant of bail.
No, we are not
opposing. No, this man deserved bail even on the second day on the material which has come before us. That's not the issue. Issue is on what this bail order proceeds. Does it proceed on any relevant considerations which should be there?
And what is this interim bail?
Interim bail is always in reference to an event which is granted. For example, a prisoner's marriage taking place in the house, father dying in the house, some such eventuality taking place, which requires an immediate, urgent interim bail. Now, in this case, where is this concept of interim bail if the judge finds that there is a prima facie case for grant of bail? What is this conservative?
And what is this 6 months? After 6 months, what happens?
What is this conservative treatment? It is not my choice. It's not a
No, but what happens after 6 months? He has to go back and get a fresh bail?
6 months, a sword of Damocles, this judge is keeping on his head and telling him, you do this, behave like this. And this judge is telling the surety that you control his thoughts.
I'll come to that, sir. Let me come to this, the two professors here. You know, it's very interesting, both of you, you know, you're in Delhi University, you don't have a direct concern in this matter. But Rakesh Batabyal, who teaches in the Delhi University, there is a direct, in the JNU. The faculty of JNU also has to play its role in guiding them to the right path. The reason behind the anti-national views in the minds of students who raise slogans, find the reasons why they raise those slogans, and also ensure remedial steps so that there is no recurrence. This is what the judge says in her order. So, you have a great responsibility now. All of you in the JNU faculty have a great responsibility. How are you going to handle this?
In this judgment, if I call it a judgment, but this is
It's an order.
She has raised a very, very significant issue, and that is the role of intellectuals in society, which many of us are raising in a different way. And she gives a very high pedestal to the intellectuals, and not just intellectuals, the world of ideas.
Right.
And since we are in the trade of ideas in the universities, Kanhaiya himself, the teachers and students, I would take it as something, as a waking up call for all of us,
Right.
for all kinds of ideas which are roaming around, anti-national ideas, communal ideas, secular ideas. In that sense, I thought I take it as a positive signal, telling us that the judiciary as one very important forum, foundation of society, is looking up to you for your ideas. I think that JNU deserved, because giving this high pedestal. And she says that, is the hub of intellectuals. And this is a kind of argument which also has been made on JNU of the 70s, when it was argued that Indira Gandhi created this university, the mythical argument, that Indira Gandhi created this university to keep the Naxals there, so that there's a safety valve kind of situation. They will mainstream there. I think that I take it as a positive signal now that we are bringing people from all kinds of societies in this country, from village, from northeast, from Tamil Nadu, from Kashmir, and giving it a national grind over the last 50 years, making a large nation by itself. And actually she recognized this, that JNU is a place of intellectuals, and maybe there are some people who are wayward, and you bring them back.
Yes, this
I
is
take
what,
it that way.
The faculty of JNU also has to play its role in guiding them to the right path, which is fine. You're supposed
We
to...
have been doing that, and so she gives us a credit to do it again.
Again and more frequently, and right path, so that they can contribute to the growth of the nation and to achieve the object and vision for which Jawaharlal Nehru University was established. The reason behind anti-national views in the minds of students who raised slogans on the death anniversary of Afzal Guru, who was convicted for attack on our parliament, which led to this situation, have not only to be found by them means you people, the faculty.
That we accept.
But remedial steps are also required to be taken in this regard by those managing the affairs of the JNU, so that there is no recurrence of such
I think what she's doing is presenting a context in which the order is being, the entire situation. In that context, what she is referring to, I think the language is slightly flowered, but what she is referring to is that there is a context of ideas and context of larger frame. And the frame is nation, and the idea should be in conformity with Constitution
of India.
And therefore, I take it as positive in the sense, in the sense that we, in JNU, the teaching community, the students have been for the last 3, 4, 5 decades, have been actually doing this. The issue is now, if someone wants to not conform to the constitutional ideas of nation or national idea of constitution, where does these ideas go? And every democracy in the world...
That is a challenge for you, for the faculty.
That's a challenge. Should we then therefore invoke how to expand those ideas of either nation or existing ideas of nation or existing idea for constitution?
Okay. Apoorvanand, how do you look at this? Because the onus is also on both the faculty as well as Kanhaiya Kumar, what he does in future.
I think there is some confusion regarding the role of teachers and university as such. Teachers are supposed to put students on right path. That is not our role. Our role is to help students get exposed to different kinds of ideas and form their own opinion. So that is our role. We are not there in our classrooms or in universities to restrict them to only one correct path. And so the motto of any university would be doubt everything and question everything. Without doing that, you won't be able to create knowledge. So that is the role of universities, and that's the motto of JNU. So we don't fear ideas, however outrageous they might sound, and however anti-national they might sound. So this confusion exists in the society, which is getting reflected in this judgment. And as Rakesh Batabyal rightly says, that you are putting too much premium on the role of intellectuals. And so what's being done here? Soldiers are being juxtaposed with students, that you're enjoying this privilege of being in JNU only because of soldiers guarding Siachen
And raising slogans.
and slogans. But I would say that we are enjoying this because of the farmers, because of the laborers, because of many people who are making this nation, not only soldiers. So it's unfair to forget all those and say that these students, what's being done in last 3 weeks is these students are being pitted against soldiers, which is very, very unfair. It's creating a situation where our soldiers are buried under tons of ice, and these students are enjoying the freedom of campus of JNU and raising slogans. So I can see the pressure that is there on each organ of the state, judiciary included, and that is very, very scary.
Okay. Mr. Sorabjee, would you like to respond to that? Would you like to add something to what Professor Apoorvanand is saying? That how is this the pressure which is showing on the judiciary which leads to this kind of remarks being made?
No, it's okay. You must really look at the conclusion. But the thing is, I don't think slogan raising by itself is prohibited.
Yeah.
All depends on the slogans. There are slogans all over the place in our country. Whole point is, the essence of sedition is, if there is any speech or writing or slogans which has an element of incitement to violence, then of course it's sedition. Otherwise, criticism of the government, however vigorous, comments of the administration, however pungent, however ill-informed, it's not sedition. That's the law laid down by the Supreme Court in Kedarnath's case. I don't understand when someone may even question the correctness of the judgment of the Supreme Court convicting Afzal Guru. I think he had a fair trial, but some people can have a different opinion. So questioning the judgment of the Supreme Court is not by itself sedition. I
Exactly.
questioned the judgment in
Okay.
the ADM Jabalpur, when the Supreme Court held that during emergency, even a Malapati order of detention cannot be challenged. So all depends on the context and the circumstances.
Okay.
Let's not read many things as slogans which might be as well, discarded. This is part of the growing up, part of the churning discussion, debate we have in our country.
Okay. Satya Prakash, you know, another interesting thing about as far as this order is concerned is the amount of onus it has put on Kanhaiya himself. You know, one, it says that the president should be, JNU Students Union president should be accountable and responsible for any anti-national event organized in the campus, and in future also he should ensure that such anti-national activities doesn't happen. You know, how does he do this?
Well, any bail granted to any accused,
What is anti-national?
it's accompanied
Sorry.
with certain conditions.
Yes, sir. Sorry, sir, you have something to say? Sorabjee?
What is anti-national, I want to know. Who defines anti-national?
This is what the order says, that he should ensure that no anti-national activity should take place in the campus.
And she has presumed the JNU is an international place, activity place.
Any
And it
bail,
must be controlled. Where from she gets all this?
Yes,
any
Satya.
bail order is generally accompanied with certain conditions. In this case also there are certain conditions, but some of the conditions we might find it
Abhorrent.
because
Quite extraordinary, actually.
but conditions are very normal. Some conditions like you will ensure that no such activity takes place on the campus, that it's beyond his reach. So he may not be. What it ensures that the police might, if they choose to, might misuse the order to get his interim bail cancelled.
That is the point.
Second, the thing we are discussing is about the comments made by the judge. Generally, those elevated from the trial court, they are not well versed in so many things. So we should rather ignore those comments, because it's very common for judges to they call it obiter dicta, to make certain passing
This is
comments.
not obiter dicta, it's all written down.
This is a bail order.
No, bail- no, sir.
There can't be any comments on this.
Ideally, there should not be any comments. She should have restricted
Nor
herself
these
to the.
analogies of our armed forces in Seychelles.
Yeah, she should have
What has
restricted.
that to do?
She should have
With the
restricted
bail
her
order?
to the case, knowing fully well that this is a very well publicized case, very sensitive case, and each and every word is going to be discussed threadbare everywhere in most of the television studios and newspapers, she should have refrained from making such comments. But having said that, if she has made those comments, at times these obiter dicta, they also enrich the public discourse. In this case, unfortunately, it has not.
Okay, Justice Khan, another sort of condition which has been laid is that Kanhaiya Kumar should not participate actively or passively in any activity which may be termed as anti-national.
Takes away his whole freedom of expression, takes away all of his freedoms guaranteed under Article 19. What is this? He should not do this, he should not open a mouth. Tomorrow a policeman will say that he said this. You may manipulate a thing and say this, and he goes back to the jail again. This order creates a ground for crippling this person. Not only this, but the whole university.
All others.
Which university has been dubbed to be a place of anti-national activity, which is to be controlled by whom? By this boy and his surety and the faculty. How come are you returning this finding in a bail order, in which bail order you have only to confine to 4 conditions? What is the gravity of the nature of the offense? What is the scope for tampering with evidence? What is the scope for interfering in the investigation? And for that, you have to go by the police version and you have to go by the defense version. Where is the question of bringing the armed forces here and their families?
Yes.
It is impacting, so raising a slogan is impacting the families of the armed forces. What is this?
Okay, but Mr. Sorabjee, this condition, as Justice Khan says, saying that, you cannot participate actively or passively in any activity which may be termed as anti-national. I mean, how do you look at this? How do you look at this condition? How is Kanhaiya Kumar supposed to function as JNU Students' Union President now?
No, it's rather vague. As I said, we don't know what anti-national means. It means different things to different people. And some of the conditions and some of the language, I agree, could have been avoided. But my main point is, conclusion is correct. Bail was granted, bail was correctly granted.
Okay.
That everybody agrees with.
Okay.
Grant of bail was justified, everybody agrees with.
Rakesh? See, this is something which as faculty, as a university also, you need to maybe think and discuss among the students and among your faculty itself. As far as, how much freedom do students have to raise slogans? Has that become an issue now? Is that something which the faculty, the university will now have to, rethink about? What kind of,
Is this slogans?
is this order placing some kind of a,
Unreasonable restriction. Unreasonable.
Do you think that that kind of restriction is coming on the faculty?
You see, in every society, every country, this kind of situation comes. For instance, Dreyfus raised the slogan, "I accuse." And the society, and in that sense, if JNU is a nation by itself, it will also create innovative ideas. Now, what are slogans? Slogans are basically like the physicists use mathematics to precisely put his theorem. The slogans sometimes precisely put our entire theoretical argument. If you restrict those, there may be bad slogans, good slogans, some slogans I don't like, some slogans I like. Even Gandhi did not like Murdabad because it was wishing somebody's death, which I think also sometimes is bad. But when you wishing a system to collapse, for instance, in Collapse Zindabad, but also say capitalism down, down. Now that invokes entire system of thought. I think when you suppress those, people will go in a different other channels, create new innovative ideas. For instance, American youth burned the national flag or wore national flag as underwears. So they will innovate new ideas. I will therefore think this is a very interesting critical time for JNU itself. I take this order in a very humble way. Introspections. This asks for us to introspect as a JNU community, students, teachers. I grew up in JNU. Many of our teachers gave us good political education, bad political education, whichever education. That this is a time for us to create new ways of thinking, new ways of expanding our horizons of freedom, new ways of interacting with the larger society. and larger society.
And
for
new ways of dealing with the students?
New ways of we are already doing that in a different ways, and that is also a group of students from within the university complain to the police, and that itself is a new phenomenon, because very rarely does JNU students go out to complain about each other. They solve among themselves. They bring teacher. They come to teacher's house. They sit and they solve problems over a cup of tea. This is also a unique phenomenon.
A new phenomenon, and you're calling it unique and new, but it's a disturbing phenomenon also.
It is disturbing, but because we are living in disturbing times. People are calling each other's names, and MP ministers are calling names. So these are disturbing times.
Okay.
And disturbing time needs innovative ideas.
Rakesh is looking at it in a very benevolent manner, and
I understand why.
No, because this is something. I think in the larger context, this is not something which is going to be confined only to JNU. This will be applicable to all the universities.
That's what I
At some
fear.
point of
That's
time.
what I fear. That this judgment will be used by administrators of all universities and colleges and departments to shut down activities which would be seen as, by the powers that be, as anti-state or anti-national. It has already started happening. Lectures are being cancelled, spaces are not being granted, and we know of many, many instances. So now what's happening? There is a vigilante group in nearly all universities roaming around, complaining against teachers or students or seminars or symposia they don't like, and they call it anti-national, and immediately it's scrapped, or immediately they are issued show-cause notices. Recently, there was a case of a professor of Lucknow University sharing an article on his Facebook page.
Your article.
And he was served show-cause notice by the university, whereas he should have been protected. So I see it as a very dangerous.
This judgment can lead to that kind of situation.
Because already,
very quickly, sir, last words to you, Justice Khan.
No, I think the judge has missed.
Do you think that anybody can go to the Supreme Court and get these remarks?
Judge should have ended this order by raising the slogan "Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan." That would have completed. The whole theme of this judicial order. What I am saying,
just to add one sentence.
Very quickly.
This order cannot be used anywhere else. This is only for this bail.
Nobody is saying that it will be used, but it can become a guiding. Fear what Apoorvanand is saying. It can become a guiding light for universities.
We have already seen judgments being used, judgments given in a very specific context, being used by administrators to say that you can't do it.
Okay, Apoorvanand, I think we have completely run out of time.
Order says it cannot be used.
We can completely run out of time. But the concerns expressed
all I am saying
among
this order shows that this is not the method and way of dealing with a case of grant or refusal of bail.
Okay, I think on that note we'll end without adding anything else to what Justice Khan says. We'll see how this will all pan out. Kanhaiya is out, and what will happen in the coming days, we'll wait and watch. Thanks to all my guests. Please keep watching. We'll come back with another issue in the big picture, same time tomorrow.